In this video, we shall be talking about how to smash your interviews. So there are many mistakes people make when it comes to their interviews. Mistake number one to avoid and what to do instead is to make sure you attend on time. Many a time, we actually end up turning just on time, which is not the ideal thing, or late. So what you want to be doing is, if the interview is in person, you want to be, and it's let's say an hour away, you want to make sure you're there 15-20 minutes before in case of traffic. If it's an hour and a half or 2 hours, maybe that means you're half an hour. You're there half an hour before, but make sure you're there early. When it comes to a remote interview on Microsoft Teams, on Google Meetings, on Zoom, you want to make sure that you've prepared your laptop and your computer, whatever the technical requirements are, beforehand. You've notified other people in the office or at home in the flat that you have an interview and you don't want to be disturbed. Your laptop is charged, you have your correct software set up. So if it's Microsoft Teams, you've logged into the right account and you're ready there with the camera. Actually, one time I actually joined in with my personal Teams account, which had a different name, and the camera wasn't set up, which was a disaster. So make sure you're signed in. You can usually preview yourself via your camera, making sure your laptop's charged well in advance of your interview. This makes you less stressed. It makes you feel more relaxed, more confident by the time your interview starts. The big mistake number two is not reading the job description beforehand. There's really two key documents which you need to master. Number one is the job description, the job you're applying for. This would have been sent off earlier in the process. And you need to know what every single point is, every line, every bullet point, every word. Master this. They will be asking you about these points because they want to know, not only is it this person suitable, but of all the candidates they're interviewing, and they're interviewing many, who is the most suitable for this job? Who will produce the greatest amount of success for us as a company? So you need to know the job description well. You need to demonstrate that you can do what they're asking for. And actually, not just that you can do what they're asking for, but you have demonstrated, you have done what they're asking for. You have experience in the field, which comes on to the second document which you need to master, which is your own CV. And that comes in two parts. Beforehand, making sure you've designed your CV really well, no more than 2 pages, between 1 and 2, making sure it's clear, not too little information, not too much information, making sure you've said not just what you've done, but what you've achieved. And then the second point when it comes to your CV is to make sure you know it well and you can reference back to key points within your work history. So you can say, for instance, when it comes to when I was with company X last year, this is what I achieved, etc., etc. And a really great way to talk about your experience from your CV and to link it with what they're asking for, to really demonstrate you know your stuff, is to use the STAR method. STAR. S stands for situation. So when they ask you a particular question, you respond with S for situation. What was the context you were in? What was the situation? What company? What period? What team? What project? T stands for task. What was the task you were doing? They want to know what you were doing, the context of the situation. A stands for action. What did you achieve? Not just what was done, but what was changed. What was the success criteria? What were you able to achieve? This is especially important. What was A for action, what you done, and then R for result. Or A for action, what you achieved, R is a result. They want to know what was the fruits of your efforts. What were you able to achieve? What results were you able to produce? And what results hopefully you can produce for them. So make sure you really hone down on R for results. Again, STAR, the situation you were in, the task you were doing, what actions you took, and what were the results. This is a fantastic way when it comes to your interviews to demonstrate you know what you're doing and to highlight your strengths. Another key mistake when it comes to interviews is actually how you appear in terms of your dress. Now, post COVID, a lot of us are working from home, and even when we come to the office, the dress code has gone down significantly. If you ever watch any TV shows, documentaries, or whatnot from the 90s, you could see that the dress code in offices was significantly more formal. And today's age, it's gone down quite a bit. You can get away with like a t-shirt and jeans. And just because you can do so doesn't mean you should. And in this case, you definitely should not. Dress up for the situation. Wear a blazer, wear a shirt, wear a two-piece suit. You don't need to go all the way in a three-piece suit and a tie, but at least dress formally. Show that you respect yourself, you respect the interviewers, you respect the job you're applying for. This shows seriousness. Think, in certain restaurants, in even certain hotels, certain venues, they have a dress code requirement. Why? Because they're striving to create a level of ambience, a level of respect, a high tier level environment which they're wishing to create. They don't just let anyone in t-shirts and shorts. That's not the level they're striving to create. So if you're standing out in the way you dress more formally, especially if other candidates are dressed casually, then you're showing you're more serious than everyone else. So beware of these 3 tips. Make sure you're prepared for the interview, whether it's online or in person, well beforehand. Make sure you know your stuff, your CV and the job description. And lastly, make sure you're dressed well for the interview.